Hey, Chaz here with another Fix It video for you, and on the bench today we have this SONY TC-K415 cassette deck from the 90s, possibly the early 80s, can't really remember when these were made, but the customer sent this to me asking me to fix it because the eject button doesn't work and the cassette door front plate has come off, and I can see originally there's a little bit of plastic there which is broken off of there, so may need to see if I can get a replacement door or maybe gluing something onto there to fix it. So let's have a look and see what functionality we actually have got on this. I haven't tested any of this before today, so this is the first time power on. Stand by for magic smoke. And press the power button. Oh, let's turn the socket on, it always helps. Press the power button and we have a whirring noise, and sure enough the cassette doesn't open, but we do have a graphic display. So we have some power working in here, and presumably there is a problem with the mechanism. So let's take the cover off and have a look inside. Right, so let's take the lid off. Now I've had to cover up a customer identifying label, but one thing I just did notice before I took that off is that this part of the cabinet here is damaged, and the metalwork is dented there. Now it was wrapped fairly well when it was shipped to me, but it's quite possible that this has happened in transit, so I've taken photographs of this for the customer's benefit to show that it was like that before I got it, and not damage that I've caused, or it was damage that was caused in transit shipping it back. Anyway, let's get the cabinet off and we can have a look inside. Okay, looking inside, we can see that the deck is fairly standard motorized deck, and there's lots of bits floating around inside. Let's turn it upside down and see what falls out. And as suspected, it's all lots of bits of plastic from the casing. So we'll keep those to one side. I doubt we'll be able to glue any of that back. But we've got plastic clips along here and they all seem to have been broken off there. So we're a bit unfortunate with that. Anyway, looking on the inside, I can see immediately what the cause of the problem is with this deck, why it's making noises, and that's because the drive belt has turned to liquid. So we're going to have to dismantle the deck, clean all that off, and get nice and dirty in the process. Right, so before we do any more, what we've got to do is to take this deck out of here, and the easiest way of doing that is to remove the front panel away from the main chassis. Luckily everything is pluggable, even the earth grip on there is pluggable, and as always I always recommend that if you're going to unplug plugs from a socket on a circuit board, never grab hold of the wires and just yank them. Yeah, get something that you can grip the plug with. Now I'm lucky in that many years ago I went on a course to do some repairing. I can't remember, it was a video recorder, but I managed to get hold of these pliers with little tongs on the end, as you can see, and they're very, very useful for gripping plugs so that you can get hold of the plug and pull the plug, not the cable. Ribbon cables, slightly different. They really are 0 insertion force, so you can just pull them out. There's a plug here which we should be able to plug. Now, some plugs have got like a little clip on there as well, and you may have to squeeze that clip to do that, but lucky with these we don't. Of course, if you haven't got anything like this, if you could get yourself a spare pair of pliers and something like a Dremel, you could Dremel away part of it to make an insert into each of the tongs of the pliers, and you could use that as a gripper. It's an idea. Anyway, I'm lucky enough that I've got these tools. Can't remember where I got these from, but I did, and I've kept them ever since. Let's do that. So at the moment the front panel is going to be coming away quite easily, and because they're all the ribbon cables and that are all different sizes, you can't really get them in the wrong places. And similarly with the plugs, the red plug goes in the red socket, and the 5-pin, that won't reach over there, it's a different type of plug anyway. So one more ribbon cable. Earth is there. Let's just undo this little clip, and let's leave the clip attached to one of those wires, and we won't lose it, and we can always put it back. Leave it on the wire that's in the deck. So I think we've disconnected everything we need to disconnect. We could have just pulled these off of the deck. Let's do that instead. Put these back into the circuit board like so, and pull them out of the deck that way. They are different sizes, so you can't get them in the wrong way, and that saves us worrying about that. So we should now be able to unscrew the bottom of the deck, and lo and behold, look at that, somebody's been here before and pulled and taken all the screws out. Well, luckily I've got loads of spare screws. This is just a tiny fraction of a big box of spare screws that I've built up over 40 years, so I should be able to replace those with something that should go there once I get it working, of course. Now, will that mechanism come out? There's one screw I think that's still holding it in place, and that's this one here, and that's one that's actually earthing the deck to the chassis. Let's remove that one, and that should be a threaded, yes it is, it's a threaded screw as opposed to a self-tapping screw. Oops, bang the camera, why don't you? So we better make sure that that's turned off, because once I have a quick little look, oh, there's one little thing I thought, and this is the bit that's not pluggable, or is it? Yes, it is. It is a plug. So we've got all the plugs unplugged. Take the deck away. Now, obviously, if you're working on something like this and you've done something foolish like I just did, you could be in dire problems. If we look here, the mains comes in and goes straight into this transformer. So sitting on here is live mains, and I hadn't unplugged it. So, naughty boy, should always unplug anything whenever you take the lid off main powered equipment. So let's put the chassis with that out of the way and have a cup of tea. Right, so here we have then the deck in the front housing, and it's held into the front housing by 4 screws, which should come undone quite easily. Got another milk bottle lid for holding screws. Shouldn't need a big screwdriver for these. Don't worry if you hear cracks like that when you go to undo a screw. It's just where temperature over the time has made that screw bind a little bit, so you're just breaking that seal, you're not damaging the screw thread. That's of course you heard that, so let's see if it does it again. Yeah, there you go. And then this one here. Right. Okie dokie. So now, hopefully, that deck will come away. Or have we got to get the door open to get it out? I think we do, yeah, because there's bits of plastic on the door. So the door release is there, but it's locked. And it can't be released until we drive the mechanism. So let's drive the mechanism round there, and then we should be able to release the door. No. If you have to do anything like this, winding gears that are engaged, don't do it with a screwdriver, because if you do it with a screwdriver, you're sure as eggs is eggs to break the teeth. Right, the only one you should drive is like the main one, but you can give it a push, but you must drive it really with your finger and just ease it along with a screwdriver, but don't force it. No, it ain't coming away easily. The catch is, I was hoping that driving the mechanism would release it, but it's there. Okay, a little bit, I should have looked a little bit harder and got it. So we release the door mechanism from behind, and we should now be able to extricate the deck from the front panel and put that to one side. Okay, so the top side of the surface side of the mechanism looks okay, but it does look decidedly dirty, and you can see in there the pinch roller looks very shiny. That might clean up. There's oxide on the capstan, there's oxide on the heads, and just generally a lot of dust and dirt in there. So that will all need doing, but what we've got to get rid of to start off with before we do anything else is this rubber, which is basically disintegrated. So isopropyl alcohol to the rescue. Let's just pump that, get a bit onto my cloth, and luckily isopropyl alcohol comes off there. I'm getting it off me because I don't want it on me, and I'm not going to have it on me because I'm going to put some gloves on. Okay, right, gloves on. We can now get into this mechanism. Now with these mechanisms, usually we can separate this top part from the mechanical part so we can get at it, but sometimes you need to beware of there being things that can interlock, so you need to just have a quick little look carefully at anything that could interlock and needs to go back into place when you're reassembling it, because it's very easy to take it apart and then suddenly realize, oh hang on, where does that bit go, where does that connect to, and so on. And at the moment I can't see anything that is like a lever or anything that is engaging with anything on the top. So I think we're fairly safe to go ahead and unscrew these bits and pieces. From the top here. So we've got one screw there. That's a fairly long one. Another one here. Another long one. Is that it? As we just got the two. Looks like we have. But it's still not coming apart. Have we got something else? Is that a long screw that goes through everything, or does that just go on the top panel? No, that's just the little short screw. Oh, hang on, no, tell a lie. That is a long screw goes through there. Luckily it's the same length as the others. So that has released that, and luckily that's come away quite easily. Let's have a little look at the mechanism, make sure that the gears are okay. But there is a problem I can see straight away, and that is on this gear here. If I get it in focus, you can see that that gear is split. Now it may work, it may continue to work, but it may be that I need to replace that gear, because if that split gets any worse, it will lose its grip on there, and we could end up with that just jamming up completely. We've got a dry belt that's gone on there, we've got a dry belt that's gone on there, we've got the dry belt that's gone on there. All that black on there I think is actually grease, so I think we're pretty safe with that. So let's get the capstan off. Let's release the door again, like so. Now can we take that door off of there? What I want to do is I want to get this little split washer, which is in there. Just grab my torch so you can see that a bit clearer. There's a split washer on the top of the capstan there, and that's what's holding the capstan in place. I may be able to do it without taking the door off, but I've got to clean it, and I've got to get that capstan, that pinch roller out there anyway. So let's see if we can do that. So we've got one spring there, releasing that. Looking at the edge of the mechanism, it's got a slot there, so it's quite feasible that that door will just, when it's in the right place, drop out. Okay, it's free on that side. And the spring on the door, I've just taken it off there, sorry, that spring went on this post here. Let me take this up a little bit. Trouble is, you either get it too far away or too close, and one way or the other you can't see what's going on. And then you get a camera that's so pigging awkward to manually focus. I wish I knew a better way of controlling this Brio camera. If anybody knows, pop it in the comments if there's a better way than using the software that comes with it. The Vox or whatever it's called, software by Logitech. Right, so let's just get a toothbrush for a minute and just get rid of some of this dust. Do it dry. Okay, put the spring to one side somewhere safe. Now this little split washer on here, generally speaking you can just lever them up and they will either slide off. In fact, it's not a split washer, I think it's just an ordinary washer, plastic or otherwise. Yeah, it's just a plastic push fit washer. Put that somewhere safe. Then we can drop the capstan out. Yuckity yuckity yuck. Something's holding it back. Just binding on there. Yee. Engineer's second favourite best friend. Bit of kitchen roll. Wipe as much of this muck off as we can with the kitchen roll. So it's important, if you do have to clean a capstan off, clean off and make sure it's really nice and smooth, because if you put a capstan on, it's got a little bit of this black rubber left on it, what will happen is it will cause a ka-dunga dunga 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 dunk type noise as the belt goes round, and that will be translated into the cassette deck. So you will hear that. Alright. A little bit of ISO on the actual capstan itself. There we are. So a nice clean capstan. The black stuff in the gear is probably grease, so I'm going to leave that untouched. So far so good. Next bit is the pulley on the motor, which is chock-a-block with rubber. Let's see if we can get this off in anything like... Oh, look at that. It's come off in one big lump. Wonderful. Right, having cleaned up that pulley from the motor, we've got the other motor here, which has also got a belt that's gone on it, and that's got a load of black gunk in it as well. So I need to be very careful about how I clean that one, because that, I think, to get at that easily is either, yeah, see that? Let's see if we can tease that lump of gunk out of there. We have, luckily, thankfully. More kitchen roll. I need a new roll now. I'm wondering if I can get a toothbrush I can wash or replace with another old one. No problem with that. I'm thinking probably the best way is to take that motor out, because I can't really get at it in situ, and what's more, it's pluggable. Now, judging by the cutouts on this plastic, it looks like it's designed to be fitted in an assembled state, but that circuit board is getting in the way there. Let's release that. Let's unplug this motor and we can take the circuit board off. Out of the way for now. So put that to one side. Let's just get rid of this. Okay, off camera I took that away and give it a good clean and got this plastic as clean as I could. Got rid of all the gunk that was sitting on various bits, and there's another little bit that's just reoccurred. There we are. I've got rid of all the gunk, but I'm left with this problem of this mechanism here, and I'm wondering if I dare risk trying to pull this pulley off whether to just sort of sit it into a bath of isopropyl and see if that will dissolve it enough to be able to do it, or whether I can just do it all with a, might be able to do it with a bud. To get another packet of buds, I'm running low. Right, so I'm going to now try and remove this extra gunk on here just purely by using a bit of kitchen roll to start with. I'm hoping that that will do the job. Seems to. There's no guarantee that any of that isn't gunk, but it all looks shiny to me. Okay, so having cleaned up this gear, and hopefully I've got rid of all the gunk that's floating around on different bits and pieces. Oh, I've just spotted some more on that edge there. Still going to keep my gloves on just in case I get anything, but let's now isn't that strange? Just there, I just saw on my glove there's a little bit of gunk that's come off of something around here. Oh, right. Okay. Alrighty, so next thing I want to do is to just clean off all the dust and dirt in here. Get rid of the loose dust with the toothbrush. And this pinch roller here I think is okay. If we just release the little catch here, and then the pinch roller should ride up. There's a bit of gunk got in there as well. It gets everywhere, this gunky stuff. It really does. But looking at the pinch roller, we can see it's got a bit of a shiny surface. Sometimes you can get away with just a good clean with isopropyl. And being rubber, it tends to soften it slightly enough to get rid of any oxide that's stuck to it without damaging the actual rubber. It's not made of the same kind of rubber that the drive belts are. So I find giving it a good clean with that, and then one more clean just to make sure it's really nice and clean. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. It's dried off quite quickly. It's still got a shine on it, but I don't think it's too hard that it's going to need replacing. We won't know until we play back. Let's use that isopropyl hole just to grab the rest of the dust, because it's sticky. Might as well grab it off of there. And then on the heads again, a little bit of isopropyl on a cleaning bud. Clean the oxides off the heads. Oh, now that's interesting. The little guide that sits in that bit of plastic on the side of the erase head has come off. In fact, the actual plastic of the head is broken. Now, I would guess that's had a bit of a welly. Get my old specs on so I can see a little bit closer detail. Alright, I've refitted that little guide back in there. And I think what I'm going to do is just pop a little bit of hot melt glue onto it just to hold it in place. I think that's the easiest way of doing that. Now I can either get a glue gun or I can use an old trick, which is just a tiny little bit of hot melt glue which has been dropped off the edge of the hot melt glue gun, like this one, and just snip a little bit of this off, and then when it's in the right place, you can see in there, what I'll do is I'll just get my tweezers. Whoops. Pop that into that little position there. Get my soldering iron. Keeping it tilted down that way, so if the glue runs, it runs towards the back, not onto the head. Just gently heat it up. And that should hold it in place. Yep, I think that'll do. There's the tiny bits of the head that were holding that in place. Add that to the collection of plastic bits. Right, so let's put this head assembly back in here. Now that earth spring was on here, wasn't it? Like so. And then the mechanism goes through there like so. Now I think it was that way around because there's two little bits of Loctite that were on those screws, and I've put them back in the same place. So let's get these little screws in place here. I'm not going to Loctite them down, but if I was going to Loctite them, I would just use a little bit of nail varnish That usually does the job if you want to hold a screw in place. Right, now the problem we've got now is that the drive belt that's disintegrated connects to this pulley. I just realized on this pulley there is a bit of the old drive belt still there. Look, can we carefully remove that bit of drive belt? Oh, how lucky was that? Hardly a bit of gunk in view. Let's see if we can just wipe that clean. I think we can. Alright, we've wiped it clean. Let's just give it another wipe with a bit of isopropyl as well. So that's nice and clean. Right. So the drive belt is it that way round? Oh, I can't remember now. No, it couldn't have been that way round. That way round? No. It's got to go in there. Of course it has. That's it. Alright. No. Something's not right. Right, 1, 2 screw holes, 1, 2 screw holes. It's got to go there, hasn't it? Of course it has. It's funny, it just didn't look like it was going to line up. And then that spindle goes there in the middle. Right. So we've now got to try and work out how long that drive belt is to go from this pulley that drives the take up spools, etc., to that pulley there. And I'm suspecting that that's not going to be very long at all. Now, even with a service manual, if we had a service manual for this, it wouldn't tell us how long that drive belt is, but by centering the tip of my screwdriver into the middle of that pulley and the center of that one, it gives me that length. Which is approximately 3 centimeters. So given that distance, we'll see if we've got a 3 centimeter diameter drive belt in our little box of drive belts. And believe me, we've got lots of drive belts left over from years of buying more than one. That's a lot more than 3. There's a 66mm. That's a video recorder drive belt. That's a lot bigger than 3. I'm not sure. I'm going to have a small one, small enough. I'm really not sure. I don't think I'm going to be in luck. No. That's going to be far too long to go in there, methinks. About the smallest drive belt I've got of that thinness. That's the same size, they're all the same size. So what we can just do is see if it will go, how far it will go, and that will give us a rough idea how long it should be. So we'll pop the drive belt onto there and then put the mechanism back onto there. That belt goes below there. Yeah, that's far too big. It's probably going to be about 1.5 centimeter drive belt. So I haven't got a drive belt for it. I might have one for the capstan, but I'm not sure there either. So what I'm going to do is see if I can find a supplier of drive belts for this particular make and model. You never know, it might even find a kit of drive belts available. Let's have a look, see. Okay, well, we're back with this Sony cassette deck, and I've just realized I've gone through this next process that I'm going to show you already, but I didn't press record on my system. So I've gone through all the bit about fitting the belt and the pulley, and it wasn't recording. So I'm going to have to just tell you about it, because otherwise I've got to take it apart and redo it. But basically, if you remember, this belt, the main drive belt, the capstan drive belt, was turned to mush. So I'd ordered a replacement there. I'd also ordered a replacement drive belt that goes between the take-up pulley assembly here and this motor. And on top of that motor, you can just see it in here. If I get the camera in the right position, you should be able to see there's a little cogwheel there. And that cogwheel had split. There's the faulty one that came out, and you can actually see, if I just put a screwdriver in this edge here and just twist it slightly, you should be able to see the split. Not easy to see. I don't particularly want to break it, not because I'm going to use it again, but you never know. But I ordered 2, and the other one that I fitted came like that. It looks identical. I would guess this is somebody at some stage has remade this, perhaps using 3D printing or something, I don't know, or they've got the mold and they've taken a mold of a good one and whatever. Anyway, I bought 2, so I've always got a spare one of these should another one of these come in. So earlier on I replaced this one with the new one. I'll put them over there, keep them safe. And basically it just, the old one levered off of this pulley at the end of the motor, pushed the new one on, and then I was able to jig the drive belt through and get it onto this pulley, and then using a tool to grab hold of the other main drive belt, put it around the capstan and the motor pulley and put it back in there. And basically I did all that and got it all back together and tested it, and then realized I hadn't been recording. So sorry about that. It's just one of those things, you make a mistake. So anyway, when I'd finished that and I was just checking, the next thing that I had to do was to put the spring back on, put the door frame back in and put the spring on. And the spring was dead easy. Just put one edge in this slot here, hook it round the pin there of the door frame and push it on there and pop it in, and in it went. So having done that, the next thing I need to do is to just clean the heads. So just getting a bit of bud, get some isopropyl. So probably could have done this without the door on, but let's give it a clean off. So this is just isopropyl on here, on a bud. I'm using the other side of a bud that I've used earlier. Because they're quite expensive to replace lots of buds, so if you can use the other side, it makes sense. And then also clean off the erase head. And that looks to be reasonably clean. I think it's actually got a bit of a groove in it. I can see it's obviously been well used. There's actually a little groove. You can just catch it in the light of where the tape, there it is. You can just see it on one side. So it's a twin head on there. And I think when I was cleaning up the pinch roller, etc., I did that earlier on. So it's a case now of fully refitting it all back together and testing and making sure it works. So let's use this camera to over here to see that operation. So we'll pop the deck back into the front panel. So the deck should just slot into there with the door open. A little bit of jiggling to get it through there. And drop the deck into place there. There we are. Let's get the screws. I think that that bud can actually go in the bin now. So 4 screws to hold the deck in. These are the screws back. I'm just going to pop these bits of plastic in there and give that back to the customer to show that there was definitely broken bits of plastic on the inside. A little bit of fluff in the chassis there, but we don't need to worry about that. If I remember rightly, there wasn't that many screws holding the deck together, so I'm just going to check a previous recording and see how many screws were holding it together, because I've got a feeling that there weren't that many screws and I've got to replace some missing ones. So let's just check that. I'll be back in a second. So yes, I was right. I looked on the previous video and there was 4 screws missing out at the bottom when I took it apart. So delved into my big tray of screws. Funnily enough, only a couple of days ago I went through and sorted a lot of these out. So all these really threaded screws, bolts if you like, I've put into there. Just notice I put a self-tapper in there. It shouldn't be in there. So obviously got that one wrong. Right, so there's 4 screws, 2 fairly short ones for down here where the deck is. So you may say, where did I get all these screws from? Well, the answer is from bits and pieces that I've gathered over the years where I've had to take things apart, and occasionally, just very occasionally the screw hasn't gone, all the screws haven't gone back into the right place. So it does happen, can't deny it. So it's just one of those things. So now we're connecting all the connectors back up. That one there, and there was the tape heads. Well, that's the erase head, goes over there. I'm pretty sure that's the erase head. Oh no, it's not, sorry, not the erase head, that's the headphone socket there. And that's the erase head down there. No, it's not. It's two pins, that's the erase head there. We should have one white and one red connector. That's the white one, goes in there. Replay. One ribbon cable in there. Another ribbon cable in there. Another ribbon cable in there. Big ribbon cable in there. Smaller one in there. So have we got all the connectors? Yeah. This orange one down here is marked TP, so that's a test point one. Another ribbon cable. That goes in over here. Well, there was a clip, cable clip here. I'm pretty sure that held, let's go, all of this lot together over here. So that looks good. And then we pop the cassette door back into its clips. Close the door, open the door. That's looking good. So we're almost ready to do a audio test and see what's how it's playing back. So let me just get the test speaker, etc. working. Okay, got my little test speaker working. It's only going to be input on one channel at the minute because my my amplifier is doing something a bit silly. It won't switch over to the auxiliary input for some unknown reason. Don't know why. Probably got a wire plugged in somewhere. Anyway, just got a little single test speaker that will do the job. So let's pop a tape in and see if it plays. Certainly sounds like it's playing. And we're getting an output on the channels, but we're only getting less output from the left channel than from the right. I'm pretty sure they should be both about the same. Let's just take that out and turn the tape around. Just to see if it makes any difference. It's about the same. So it could be that we've got a little bit of loss on one channel. Okay, let's pop in a test tone signal. And yeah, we've definitely got less output from one channel. And you can probably hear, well, it seems to have disappeared. I thought it was going wob wob wob, which is a typical fault of when you get a dent in the pinch roller. Okay, so let's just stop that, take that tape out, take this front cover off again. It just pops off. Be careful not to break it, like somebody who's had a go at it before has broken it. Let's just have another little look at the heads. Get a little bit more light in there as well, and then we'll zoom in if we can. So we can see the head. It's definitely not in the best of health. I would say that there is probably a certain amount of wear on the head. I'll just give it another clean with some more isopropyl. Well, there certainly was a little bit of dirt coming off there. I've still got, although that may have just come off of the tape I've just been using. Get a little bit more of a harder rub. And we'll get a dry one. Just take off any excess. So that should be okay. So let's pop the tape back into it. Okay, so it's not really improved matters, but I will check. Now if I have a look at the camera at the head itself, now I've tilted it up, that there is the azimuth adjustment. Now, has that Loctite been adjusted, maladjusted? It could be that it has. Let's just double check to see. There is a spring underneath. Difficult to see whether it has been. Let's just get my specs on it. A touch more light. Okay, I'm just going to test it to see where the Loctite has been. There is a spring on there. That still feels locked. This one is definitely moving though. Now, can you hear the level going up and down? If I get it about there on the meter, we're now getting the same level output on the meter. So that definitely, that azimuth adjustment there had been adjusted. or misadjusted. Now we've done it right. Let's take that off, and what I'm going to do is put a little bit of good old bit of nail varnish on there just to lock it in place. Because I haven't got any Loctite. I haven't had any Loctite for years for doing things like this. Nail varnish works just as well. Just pop that in there. All over the screw. There we can see, coated it in nail varnish, and when that's set, that will lock that screw in place. I'm quite pleased with that. Now the other thing we need to check is that we're running at the right speed. There's several ways you can do this. If you've got a meter, general purpose test meter with a frequency counter built in, get it so you can see it on the camera. Bit difficult here. There we go. Yeah, definitely sounds like there is a dint in that pinch roller. Ding, ding. Right, so across the output, and what frequency have we got? Hmm. 990 hertz. It's actually running a little bit slow. And you can prove that another way. If you've got a mobile phone, which hasn't everybody got a mobile phone these days, you can get an app called a frequency counter app, if I can find it. Frequency counter, there we go. So 994. So fairly close. The main cassette motor that drives the capstan, that's that one there. You can see this hole, and in there is a little adjustment pot. I'm using a little copper adjustment tool. I can pop that in there. I should be able to go in there and find a little slot. Be very careful how I do that. And some of these have got a hole, but they haven't actually got the pot behind them. Can't feel that adjustment. Let me have a look at the circuit diagram. Right, it seems I didn't look hard enough on the circuit board. Take speed control. So let's get our little adjustment tool, get our frequency counter onto the right point, press play. And then adjust this little pot here. It's gone slow. That's 1 kilohertz, near enough. Okay. Definitely don't like this wobble. Just going to put my finger on. Okay, so it's not the drive belt wobbling or anything like that. It's got to be this doink, doink, doink effect has got to be a dint in the pinch roller. So let's take the tape out and put my fingers in and feel it. Yeah, I can actually feel there is a dint in that pinch roller, which is a nuisance. So I can put it all back together. I've got to take it apart to get that out. And to find out whether I've actually got a pinch roller of the right type. Now, some of these pinch rollers will actually pop out, as you can see on this one. The actual pinch roller is basically just pushed into little slots on this lever arm here. Trouble is I can't get at it easy enough to force it to pop out by twisting it. And I don't particularly want to put anything in there that can do it any harm. I might just see if yeah, okay, so I was lucky there on that side anyway. Yep, and on that side. I'll drop the pin, which is not going to be easy to retrieve, but we will get there. Okay, so I've dropped the pinch roller in there, and let's take that out. The pin was stuck out the other side. Right, so we're lucky. So there's our pinch roller, and I don't know if you can see, it's a very shiny and it feels very hard. I'm just trying to look and see if there is an indentation in it, and I can't see a particular indentation, but I can see some marks on it. I'm feeling it with these. I can feel various lumps and bumps in it. I think it's basically it's gone very hard instead of it being a nice rubber. So let's see if we've got a replacement. Okay, so looking through all my boxes of spare parts from cassette decks and so on, I have not got an exact pinch roller. I've got several which are similar, some which are narrower, some which are wider, and none of them have actually got the same diameter pin through the middle, so they wouldn't roll smoothly. They could wobble and you could end up with wow and flutter, etc. So I'm going to have to order a replacement, which is a shame. I should have really looked at that before I ordered all the other spare parts. Never mind. It's just a minor delay. I'm sure I should be able to find one on good old eBay, if not one of the suppliers that I know of that holds stocks of this sort of thing. So another delay in fixing this deck, but we'll get there when we get a new pinch roller for it. Well, it's been a while, but finally the package has arrived with the new pinch rollers in, and just to be on the safe side, I bought 3. So let's open it up and have a look. And yes, there we are, 3 brand new pinch rollers, hopefully which will fit this deck. So I've already put it all back together because I had to put it to one side whilst I was waiting for this to come in. Let's open the deck. And the pinch roller mechanism is in there, and the pinch roller is missing together with the pin, which I'll need for this one. Did I put it inside? I guess that's probably what I did. I'll be right back. Yeah, minor panic set in there because I looked in the box that I'd stored this in I couldn't see the packet of pinch roll, and then I realised I hadn't actually put the screws into this unit. So just lifted the lid, and there was my bits and pieces left over, together with the original pinch roller and the original pin. So hopefully, without having to take the mechanism out, I'm just going to, just for simplicity's sake, let's move that out of the way to start with. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to just take the door cover off again, and we should be able to manipulate the new pinch roller with the replacement pin in it, or the old pin rather, in the new pinch roller into it. So I'll leave the pinch roller in there for now. And I'll take it out and I'll compare it, because I need to make sure it's exactly the same size. Measurement wise, according to the website, it should be identical, and it certainly looks identical from the outside, and it looks like that. Let's see what the pin feels like in it. Yep, it feels fine. Now, can we, without having too much ado about it, drop the whole pinch roller mechanism, pinch roller and wheel, into that slot without dropping it all into the mechanism, just rolling it slightly forward till it goes over the hole, and that's in. And now I'm going to try and be a bit sneaky and use 2 screwdrivers, because if I use one, well, I'll show you what I'm trying to do here with the overhead camera, then that'll make life a lot easier. Put a bit of light on the subject as well. There we are. So having rolled the pinch roller into the right position, I've now got to push the pinch roller down onto, so that the pin goes down into the slot that it came from. So I'm going to hopefully get one screwdriver in one side. Or have I got a, hang on, have I got a long pair of pliers that I can, nope. Okie dokie, right, I'm just going to have to hope that putting a finger on it, if I can get my finger in there, that finger's difficult to do, and get the camera to see it. So I'm going to just hold it in place and push one side, and then hopefully, there we are, it's in. Yes, ooh, that was close. Right, now all we've got to do is make sure that it will actually play back correctly. So let's connect it to my little test amplifier and see how we go. Just get that amplifier out of storage. Right, I've got my test amplifier connected up to the output of this, and we've got the test tape in. Let's play and see what we get. Right, that sounds to me like a nice clear 1 kHz tone. Let's use my frequency counter on my phone to see what the frequency is. Let's see if we can see that on the camera. Not very easily. Let's put it on the overhead camera, that might show up a bit better. There we go. 1 kHz, and on the other side of the tape we've got a 3 kHz tone. A nice smooth signal. So we are effectively done. This tape deck is now working perfectly, which is brilliant. So I'm very pleased with that. Okay, let's just play a bit of music. Let's see what a bit of music sounds like on this, courtesy of the good old YouTube music library. Admittedly, this test amplifier I've got is not the most brilliant thing. It's a cheap little thing I got for about £13 from eBay many years ago when I had some nectar points to spend. But it's come in handy because you can play line in, you can put SD cards in it, you can put USB into it, and it's battery operated, and it clips onto the back of a laptop should you need speakers. Anyway, it's handy for testing. Let's try another bit of music. Yep, all looks good, sounds good. So I'm pretty sure that that's it for this particular repair. I've just got to put the top back on and send it off to the customer. So hope you've enjoyed this rather lengthy video into repairing this Sony cassette deck. A good old piece of machinery, certainly worth spending a little bit of time on, replacing belts, etc., once you've cleaned up all the gunk, and then going through and checking it out. But it certainly seems to be okay. The only other thing I haven't done is test the recording. I'm pretty sure that's going to be okay, but I will do that before I actually send it off to the customer. No need to go into the details now. The bit you were really interested in was all the mechanics, wasn't it? Okay, see you on the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheerio.